Okay, so what is Yichi Kim Ying Ma? So in a nutshell, Yichi Kim Ying Ma, it's also known as the goat gripping stance or the character 2 adductor stance. It is, in my opinion, it's the main stance and training position of the Wing Chun system. So we're going to get started with helping you understand the basic principles of the stance, and then I'm just going to take you through a couple of exercises that's going to improve your balance and obviously give you more stability when you're forming the stance. Okay, so what's interesting about the basic stance Yichi Kim Ying Ma is there isn't really any practical application to an opponent, and the reason for that is because when you generally fight someone, you've generally got the leg forward and you're creating a very good base, and you've got really good stability, whether it's forward or backwards or lateral to the side. When you're in the basic stance Yichi Kim Ying Ma, you can get pushed off balance if someone's hitting you from the front, and if somebody's hitting you from the rear, you can get pushed off balance as well. So it's really got no forward and backward stability as such, which is why you would generally say that it's not a practical stance. However, having said that, the stance does hold many self-defense principles that you can take into sparring, and that will improve your forward stance, or the position that we also know as Buma. Okay, so when you're standing in the basic stance, what we'll do is we'll work from the head and we'll work down. So in this position, what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that your chin is parallel to the floor and that you're looking straight forward. The head should be positioned as such so that you're pushing the top of your skull towards the sky. So you're creating a nice long neck when you're standing. Obviously you want to create as much space between the shoulders and the ears as possible, and just obviously have a nice straight spine. So when you're standing in the basic stance, just make sure that your chin is parallel to the floor, your eyes are looking forward to the front. In the context of self-defense, it's not really a good idea to stand this way. You really do want to tuck your chin and look up slightly, because we want to protect the side of the jaw, the actually front of the jaw, and we obviously want to prevent people from hitting into the side of our throat, which is a primary or a key target that as Wing Chun practitioners we're going to strike to, in addition to the bridge of the nose. So you just want to make sure that your head is neutral in space. You want to make sure that your fists are at the sides of your body and that your elbows are tucked under slightly, and obviously just creating a gentle stretch across the chest. This is not practical. It makes a lot of sense to place the hands forward. So your fists, this is what I call the home of the fists, and it's something I got in my Taekwondo days. It's not here, it's up here, which may feel slightly different if you've come from a karate or Taekwondo background. But at the end of the day, just put your hands back and away so that we can start training. So then what I want you to do, I want you to draw the navel to the spine and just draw in and just pull your abs in, or you're engaging your abdominals. Then I want you to tuck the tailbone under, so you're not sticking your bum out. You're actually, this is a posterior tilt, you just tuck the tailbone under, then pull your navel back to your spine and just pull in your abdominals so that you've got a strong center. And obviously it's this strong center that is going to give strength to your arms, and it's also going to allow you to kick effectively, in addition to obviously standing on a very strong leg. So then you want to make sure that your knees are bent, and obviously they're going to be turning inwards because they're following the same shape of the feet. And you're pressing forwards and inwards. So you're actually gripping and you're abducting. And what we mean by that is you're actually pulling your knees towards your center line, and you're obviously creating strong leg muscles on the inside. So it's your adductor muscles. Then you want to make sure that your toes are turned inwards, and obviously that's going to expose the outside edge of the body, which is a stronger side, and it's also going to bring in an awareness to protecting the insides of your legs, and obviously more importantly, especially for us guys, is we want to protect the groin. So you want to make sure that the feet are turned in, Your knees are bent, and obviously this gives you balance, it gives you mobility, you can push off with footwork. Your hips are tucked under. It is going to bring the top of your thighs together, and obviously when you turn in your stance, in your turning stance, you'll actually feel the top of your legs meet, which again is just another little added bonus of protecting the groin. So you want to tilt the hips under and just generally stand in a strong, stable stance position. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to open the basic stance so that you can practice the basic techniques in future videos. So stand with your feet together, shoulders back, back nice and straight, arms by your sides. Raise both hands and form your salutation, then relax. Then I want you to take your arms up to the sides of your chest, forearms parallel to the floor. Then bend your knees, keeping your knees together. Turn the toes out, pivoting on the heels. Then flick your heels out, pivoting on the balls of the feet. Make sure your knees are bent. Tuck your tailbone under, stick your chest out, shoulders back, and just stay in that position for about a minute or 2 or 3 minutes, just so that you can start developing the strength in the front of the muscles and obviously your bum muscles as well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start to develop a little bit of balance. So we're going to do some balance training in the basic stance. So you've opened your basic stance and you're standing in the basic position. So when it comes to width and weight distribution, what I want you to do is just to make sure that the inside of your feet are on the outside edge of your shoulders. So you want a stance that's basically shoulder width, which is very useful for street self-defense, and it's going to ensure that you've got the mobility to move forward and backwards and obviously change directions quickly if you need to. So you're in this position like so, your weight distribution is 50-50. Then what I want you to do is slightly lean forward so that your toes start to grip the floor. Then I want you to lean backwards so that your toes are lifting off the floor and you're pressing in with your heels. Then return to a neutral position, 50-50, and just bend your knees and then repeat that 2 or 3 times. So you're pressing forward, then you're rocking backwards, and then you're coming back to the center and you're bending your knees some more. We repeat that again. We go forwards, we go backwards, and then we come back to the center and we bend the knees, we're adducting the knees, we're pulling inwards, and we're tucking the tailbone under to create a nice strong base from which to work from. And what you may find when you do this is that the soles of your feet, basically the 3 points underneath the ball of the foot, underneath the small toe and the heel, those 3 points, you may actually feel that over the course of the weeks and the months of practicing the basic stance, you're going to actually feel the floor a little bit more, which is really going to help you when you come to do your footwork training. So try that. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're going to connect the breath with the movement. Okay, so breathing in martial arts or in yoga, or if you're just doing any kind of fitness training, it's very important that you breathe correctly. And what we're going to start doing is connecting the breath to the movement so that we can draw in the air and get as much oxygen into the muscles as possible, and then we're breathing out so that we can actually sink in the stance and actually connect and become slightly more rooted or grounded when we're practicing the basic stance. So previously you were taught just to raise the arms up and then bend the knees like so. Now what I would like you to do is from this position take a nice deep breath in and then breathe out and sink your body weight, and just practice doing that a couple of times. Give that a go. Okay, so generally what you've got so far is how to open the basic stance. You've got your basic principles, then you've got, from that position, starting to connect the breath with the movement. and obviously you want to get your body weight to sink to the floor, and actually breathing out allows you to do that. Then what I want you to do is I want you to put it all together so that you're starting to work towards building, I was going to say perfect, but you're building towards a stance that is formed correctly and obviously going to give you the strength and the power that you need to practice your hand techniques. So when I practice this stance with my students and we come on to basic hand techniques, they'll tell you that if I'm not gripping with my legs or my backside, my hands feel a lot weaker. Yet when I start to grip with my backside and strengthen my legs and my core, they'll all tell you that my hand techniques become stronger. So it's very important that you start learning to contract, to engage the abdominals, to use the quads, the front of the muscles, and obviously use your backside as well, your abductors and your hamstrings, because generally what you're doing is you're learning to strengthen the legs so that your arms can be strong too. In a nutshell, the stance is the main stance and training position of the Wing Chun system. It has no practical application to an opponent, but there are many self-defense principles that you can take into the context of sparring. For example, your feet are turned inwards. When you're standing forward in your forward stance, your feet are turning inwards to protect the groin and prevent any kicks coming into this area. Your knees are bent like so. And this is so that when your knees are bent, you can actually push off and actually have some kind of explosive mobility when you're actually doing your footwork. You can also as well, you can start to ride punches and just push forward and backwards. You can't actually do that effectively if your legs are not bent. In addition to that, if you think about it, when you do have a fight, or if you're sparring or anything like that, we generally naturally bend our knees to lower center of gravity so that we've got more power, so that we can push through the floor and strike with a little bit more power than what we normally had if the legs are straight. In addition to that as well, if your legs are straight as well and you're sparring, I hope somebody doesn't fall on your legs and wreck your legs. So bending your knees are important. It does protect you from kicks, it protects you from people falling on them, but it generally helps with the basics of footwork and mobility. And obviously being a beginner, you want to concern yourself with standing in a strong, stable stance that's got really good mobility. Then you look at the hips, you're tucking your tailbone under, generally to bring in awareness to protecting the groin. But again, this is mainly for the spine to make sure that you've got a very good, natural, strong position to work from so that you're not going to injure yourself as well. Your hands, they are generally pulled back to the sides of the chest, but the basic stance is there so that you can, once your lower extremities are safely practiced and you know what you're doing, you can then start practicing and working your hands and giving your hands full attention with the secondary attention to training your leg muscles and obviously maintaining the basic stance. Okay, so there you have it. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Facebook, Amma Wing Chun Kung Fu, and if you want to contact me direct, you can go to our website, ammawingchun.com, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. If you've got any questions or comments about what I'm doing or I'm not doing, or if you need any help with what I'm showing you, please do not hesitate to make to give a comment as such. Like I've said, these videos, they're pretty much there for the beginner student, and this YouTube channel is all about helping people that do not have access to a Sifu. Because I know when I first started out in Wing Chun Kung Fu, when I was practicing my Taekwondo, I actually was picking up Wing Chun Kung Fu books and looking at the shapes, the movements, the theories, the principles, and actually I was starting to feed my mind on the concepts of the art because really Wing Chun is a concept-based system, not a solution-based system. However, we do have solutions for certain scenarios and things that happen in the context of street self-defense. So if you have any comments, or if you need any more guidance, please do not hesitate to contact me, and I'll be seeing you shortly for my next video where I'm going to show you how to form the centerline guard, which we call Mun Sao and Wu Sao. Thanks for watching.